Hi, friends. So, hypervigilance of the mind. It's not a flaw. It's a kind of a presentation in the mind due to emotional abandonment. And we developed hypervigilance in the mind early on, right? Many of us had emotional abandonment or physical abandonment, physical abuse, and these kinds of things that out of necessity, we had to start really knowing our environment. And the brain learned to really scan and read what was going on around us so that it could learn how to adapt. And, below the age of 7 years old, our brains are like sponges. So it is taking in a lot of information and processing so much. And because our brains are in really slow brainwave patterns when we're very young, our brains are very suggestible, okay? So if we had a lot of physical abandonment, like I was given to a lot of different caregivers as they were complete strangers, right? And my brain had to learn a lot. And what the brain will start to learn is what's safe and what's not. And it becomes skilled. I mean, it's almost a skill that we learn, the brain learns as children to read people. And I know a lot of you know what I'm talking about. Yeah? And we are so good at reading people and their bullshit that we know what's safe and what's not. We know who we can trust and who we can't. And this starts to present itself as a kind of hypervigilance in the mind, as analyzing everything, right? And it feels nonstop at times, and I know it can be really annoying, but it is not a flaw. It is the way your brain was developed, okay? And so in the IFS model, I view this hypervigilance as a protector, okay? Because it's protecting something that's been abandoned, this emotional need. Because in these environments, we were not allowed to be who we were. We had to adapt. Because the people around us weren't being who they were. Right? And so we weren't allowed to be who we were. And this is very common. And this is how we learn to see through these people's pretense and the masks and the false show that people would present and still present to us in life. And I remember explaining this to somebody a long, long time ago, because I was aware of it many, many years ago, that I had this blessing curse that I could read people, and I hated it because it caused me to distrust a lot of people. And that distrust was simply because I was never allowed to be myself. And so there's a way to work with this, which I'm going to get to. A lot of the traits that mind-body people have, if we understand them, it's important that we start to see them as just protections and not as flaws. The people-pleasing, the perfectionism, worrying about what people are thinking, the self-doubt, the hypervigilance, all of this is I see it as perfection or protectors. And they are needed until they're not. Okay? This is the intelligence of the mind-body complex. And we don't want to try to change them until they're ready to go. Okay? And this is how the protector works in the IFS model. We don't want to go past a protector if the protector really feels that it's needed. So if hypervigilance is happening in your mind, presented in your mind, and there's a good chance it is, I often recommend seeing it for what it is and understanding where it's coming from, right? The ability, the necessity to know the environment. And if it's protecting, right, it's feeling the need to protect. So that's it. I made the big mistake because I didn't know of anything about mind-body science when I was younger. I would fight the protectors. I would fight them. I did not like this going on in my mind. And as a result, it told my brain that this hypervigilant thinking was dangerous. So then I had this entanglement going on, that I had not only the emotional exile underneath as needing to be protected because it wasn't safe to show it, that I also had the protector that wasn't safe to protect. And I had symptoms a lot for most of my life. I had sometimes severe symptoms, and I went through some very, very difficult periods. Okay. And but I did notice that it wasn't until I went through my first really difficult period and intuited that it was about emotional abandonment because it was so strong, that I started to become more aware of the hypervigilance. So anyway, going forward, what we want to do is we want to make friends with our protectors. Okay? The ones that are, maybe they're really needing to protect you right now. And maybe they're saying, this isn't safe, 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 including your symptoms. Okay? But your symptoms are protectors too. So we start where we are. It's always important to start where we are. And if there's hypervigilance going on, we know what it is. And I would recommend, because of the resistance to the protectors, start thanking them and show the brain, give the brain a different message that what is going on in my mind is okay. It's okay. I'm going to make friends with these guys. I'm going to get to know them. And I'm going to thank them for keeping me safe. Now that's enough. And then I recommend, like I've said before, come back to the heart, come back to the body, be in the body. Hand on heart is connecting somatically with that inner I, that inner self. And that's your inner connection, is the body, is the I in the body. Okay? Now, hypervigilance is going to stay there until it's not needed. And that's why, this work requires patience. We can't force it. So if we can learn to allow, and we will learn to allow by making friends with the hypervigilance, allowing it to be there while we're doing our emotional expression work, which I shared with you in the Lightning Journal process. We're not trying to undermine the protector, okay? We're showing the protector through what wants to express right now. What's ready to express right now? What is safe to express right now? A lot of times people kind of want to know why there's protectors. What is it protecting? Okay. Now, if the protector is ready, then something might show up. But this isn't, I don't recommend you doing this by yourself. Just because there's an agenda going on, usually, because the ego is involved, trying to figure it out, right? I don't recommend you doing that. We really want to get into the energy of allowing. Allowing is, remember, is the foundation of this work. So if we can allow the hypervigilance and the protectors and just doing that and understanding why they're there, why this is presenting itself, so that that message to the brain that the protectors are fine, that they're safe, can start to change. Because if you have hypervigilance, you've probably been fighting them, I imagine. Okay? Now, when we do the Lightning Journal process, we are coming from self, the psyche that knows what is safe to express. And that has an intelligent way. We're not trying to get past the protector. We're doing it at a separate time even. Because allowing is very difficult in emotional repression. Because emotional repression is hidden. We can't get to it. We don't even know it's there. So allowing the protector, allowing the hypervigilance, it's not a flaw. You could even see it as a skill if you want. Wow, I'm really good at reading the environment. That's what my trauma, that's what my upbringing has given me, that bullshit doesn't get past me. It's a skill. But know that it's protecting emotional abandonment, okay? And taking it slowly, allowing the protector, and taking it slower into the emotional expression work, which only takes a moment, will be coming from self-led when it's ready. I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to work with bringing more coherence into the body so that we're not so top heavy in the mind, in the hypervigilant state, okay? Because we really do want to come back in the body, which is what the emotional expression work does. It activates the limbic system in the body. Okay. So keeping this really simple, right? It's not complicated. Allowing the protector, allowing any kind of trait, any kind of protection that shows up, but especially this hypervigilance, because that's presenting as thinking. Okay, a lot of thinking. And those other traits can present as thinking too, the perfectionism and the people-pleasing. Okay. And then slowly we're activating the body, we're getting in the body more through the emotional expression work. And we're showing the brain that we are ready to start expressing emotionally, that emotions are now safe. And this is actually quite enjoyable. Because if you've been emotionally abandoned yourself your whole life, starting to express yourself in a way that is really pure and really free is such a relief to the system. And as we do this, the need for that protection starts to diminish automatically. Okay? Keeping it simple again. And I will talk about this more next time. All right, take care. Bye-bye.